This is me, flying through the air as Lara Croft on the set of 2018 Tomb Raider movie, seconds away from a not-so-soft landing, wondering how the hell I ended up here. To this day, this is the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me, so I figured this would be a good video. Let's rewind, shall we? I'm about to do the annoying thing that happens with the online recipes where they tell you their life story for 10 pages before getting to the point. So I'm going to put a timestamp for the final link in this chain of events somewhere. So I think it all started when I saw my first Jackie Chan movie, or actually the bit just after the movie ends where they show the behind the scenes outtakes while the credits roll. That was my first glimpse into this world that I completely fell in love with and really wanted to be a part of. But growing up in a small town in a country that most people have never even heard of, I thought it was just an impossible dream. I really wanted to do martial arts when I was growing up, but my parents said that
fighting's not for girls,
so I wasn't allowed. My mum really wanted me to play piano because she wanted to play piano when she was a kid, so I was forced to live out her dream. And my dad wanted me to do sports, girl-appropriate sports, so I ended up joining a swim team in my town and did some competitions around the country in my teens. Most of my friends growing up were boys, purely because most of the neighbourhood kids were boys, and while I did have some close girlfriends with whom I did stuff like, you know, play dolls and make daisy chains or whatever, I generally had more fun with the boys because with them I got to do stuff like climbing trees and running around rooftops and jumping off bridges onto moving trains. Yes, there's a reason why women live longer than men. Don't do that. I remember a bunch of us played this game one day where someone would do a stunt and then the rest of us had to replicate it. And that's the day I really hurt my coccyx and never told anyone. And I'm pretty sure that's the reason why I became so prone to injuries. Anyway, eventually we all grew up, people moved away, the internet happened, so we stopped playing outside and it was all chat rooms and social media and stuff. And before you knew it, it was time to figure out what it is you want to do with the rest of your life. I knew I wanted to do something creative, and I knew that I couldn't do that if I stayed where I was, so I had to move. America was far away and very expensive, and the UK seemed a bit more manageable, so I ended up here. At that point I'd been studying music my whole life, so I thought that was my only option. Fast forward to my first year in London, I'm studying popular music performance at a music uni, working double shifts at a restaurant every single day that I'm not at uni, trying to cover my rent. And at one point I see my classmate post a screenshot of them in a TV show on Facebook, and I was like, what? How is that possible? And that's how I discovered extra work. For those who don't know, extras are basically all of the people you see in the background of your favourite films and TV shows. Extra work doesn't require any skill, you just need availability and reliability. Anyone can do it, and it's a great way to earn some cash. So to me, I was like, what? I can be on an actual film set. That's my dream. Naturally, I applied to a couple agencies and pretty soon got my first job. My first big job was Pan. I think it was in 2014. It was basically like a big summer camp. Met a lot of friends who I'm still in touch with to this day. I played one of the tribe warriors, and some of us even got to do some special action stuff. We were running around with little weapons while the big action sequence was happening around us, and it was my first introduction to stunts. I saw all these amazing people flying around on wires and getting paid a lot more, obviously, and I thought, oh, maybe that's something I could get into. I asked around, I did some research, and I learned that there's this thing in the UK called the British Stunt Register, and in order to get onto the Stunt Register you need to be very skilled in like 6 disciplines, and it takes a lot of time and money to get to the necessary level. So at the time it seemed a bit impossible for me, but I made a note of all the information and I decided to actively start saving money for training, and I just started working as much as I could. Any job that was available, flyering, waitressing, whatever, I just did it all. So eventually I started getting picture doubling jobs, which is where you play the actor's hands or back of the head or something, because it's cheaper to get an extra than to pay the A-list actor the A-list fee for something that doesn't show their A-list face. And while I'm doing all this extra work, I am remembering that my original dream was to act in the movies, and I'm starting to think that maybe it's not as impossible as it seemed when I was a child. So I started to actively seek out acting opportunities. So this is the bit where I'm going to talk about synchronicities and accidentally manifesting before I even knew what that was and how it worked. In 2016, I booked my first lead role in a short film, and the director sends me the character reference for my character, and it's Alicia Vikander's character in Pure, which is a film that she did back in Sweden, I think. At that point, I'd already been told by a few people that I looked a bit like Alicia, and she's actually the first celebrity that I got compared to that I was like, oh yeah, I'll take that because she's gorgeous. Anyway, we did the film, and at some point I see the announcement that the new Tomb Raider movie is being made and Alicia is going to be the new Lara. And I was just really excited to see the film. I fell in love with Angelina Jolie's Lara Croft, as I'm sure most of us did. I was obsessed with her. I wanted to be her. I wanted to be with her. It was a whole thing. So I was just very excited about the project. And I might have thought like, oh, it'd be great to get some extra work on that. But that was it. Sometime after the announcement, I am working as a random crowd extra on some random commercial. And then we start talking about the new Tomb Raider movie. And one guy just says, oh, maybe you can be her double. And I went, yeah, that'd be great. And then I never gave it a second thought after that. Fast forward to 2017. I'm already starting to train bits for the register. I started doing climbing and I'm trying to find what martial art I want to do. And obviously I had the swimming in the bag already because of my competitive swimming background. I get an availability request from one of the extras agencies and they're looking for a cycling picture double for a movie codenamed TR. I didn't think it was Tomb Raider because as far as I could remember there was no cycling in any of the movies or old games that I was familiar with. They were basically looking for someone who was confident enough to cycle through central London traffic, which I was. So I get the audition and I go to Leavesden Studios, the Warner Brothers Studios, and I meet with Lee Morrison, who was the second unit stunt coordinator, and we just chat for a bit. He takes some pictures of me and he just keeps saying, oh, you'd be a really good double for her. How tall are you? And like asking me all these questions. And eventually we go outside, there's a bike for me to ride. He just gets me to do some circles, some skids or whatever. Basically sees how I am on the bike. And I guess because he saw that I was keen to try things and wasn't really afraid, he sort of said, yeah, that's all great. Maybe we'll get you to do something more exciting. And I immediately just went, oh yes please, because I'm training for the stunt register. And he marched me up to the office to speak with the extras agency's booker and he basically said, I'll be taking her. And I was put on the stunt contract there and then. And that's how I joined the stunt team. And it was crazy because I was like, what? I'm not even on the register. I've just begun training and this is my first stunt job. This is insane. Mind you, at this point, I still don't know it's Tomb Raider. They send me over to get my measurements done, and while they're doing my measurements, I look up and they see a picture of Alicia, and underneath it, it says 1, as in number 1 on the call sheet, Lara. And I was like, oh my god, this is it. This is Tomb Raider. I'm gonna be Lara Croft stunt double. What is my life? That was a good day. Anyway, and that was it. I was all signed up, ready to go, had my contract, and Lee said, we're rehearsing next week. Get some pads, get some knee pads, elbow pads, and be ready. And I was. Okay, so this is where I started talking about the actual rehearsals and filming and stuff. But the video ended up being 20 minutes long, so I figured it's better to split it into 2 parts. Part 2 will be up next week, and I will be talking more about the actual rehearsals and the filming process and how I ended up doing not just the cycling bits, but also water work and wire work, and just get into it a bit more. So if you would like to see that, do the YouTubey things, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and hopefully you'll be notified when part 2 is uploaded. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in a week.